Hello, RoahmMythril here once again. I know, finally, right? We're going to be playing some Mega Man 5 Endless in the background while I talk about everything that's been going on, so let's get right to it. So for those that don't follow my Tumblr or the announcements I make on the feed portion of the channel, here's what's been going on. The whole thing started, I think, mid to late December, with a cold and flu type bug that was going around the house that I unfortunately got hold of. That was great fun for everyone involved, lots of clogged sinuses, sneezing and coughing fits, headache pain. During the worst of it, I didn't even feel like getting out of bed. That's how bad it felt. Fortunately, that didn't last too terribly long. I think maybe about a week tops. So that wore off and everything's good, right? Wrong. That was only the beginning. Once that was over, I started having abdominal pains. But the way it felt, at the time, it wasn't centralized anywhere. It was just kind of this all-around bloated feeling, so I passed it off as just, like, trapped gas or something. I mean, I drink a lot of carbonated drinks, so it's not unheard of for me to feel that way. And that's what my family thought it sounded like, so I was having things like Phazine, Gas-X to try and help out with it. But the pain wasn't going away. So that's when we made, I think, a slight bit of a mistake, because we went on WebMD. It's a great resource, but you really have to know what you're looking for. Unless you're really very medically savvy, the thing you have to bear in mind is that the first thing that comes along that has any symptoms in common with what you're feeling might not actually be what you're experiencing. In my case, the first thing that came along was it sounded like maybe I just had a case of irritable bowel syndrome or something. And so we went with, okay, maybe that's what it is. But it was Christmas Eve, so we had the knowledge that if I was going to see the family doctor, it had to be that day. So off we go to visit the family doctor, and we made the mistake of mentioning the self-diagnosis to him. The problem there is that the poor guy was just so harried with all the appointments he had to try and get out of the way before Christmas, everyone trying to get in to see him at the last minute, that I don't think he really did as thorough an examination as he might have normally done. We told him that we thought I had irritable bowel syndrome, and I think that's pretty much all he really checked me for. And the thing is, some of the symptoms I was experiencing did indeed seem like that. So he prescribed some medicine for me for irritable bowel syndrome, and we took that home. I took a couple of the pills, and the thing is, it was starting to make me feel better. It did feel like it relieved some of the pressure, and so we just kind of went with the assumption, okay, crisis averted, he's fine. Because once I took the pills, I felt this sense of relief of, well, the doctor said it's nothing terribly major, and I have no reason not to trust my doctor. So that kind of put my mind at ease, and that, with the combination of the fact that I hadn't really been sleeping well the past couple of nights just due to the pain, I kind of passed out for a while and it felt good. And so we just thought, okay, that's the end of it. He's fine. So Christmas came and went. I'm thankful I got to spend that with my family. For those curious as to what I got, I'll talk about that later. But then on Christmas night, the pain came back and in a different form. It was no longer an overall feeling. It was centralized to my right side, and instead of it being just this constant pain, it instead turned into, basically, if any pressure whatsoever was put on my side, it was just instant agony. And this is where the warning bells went off for my aunt, because she has been through this before, so she started to think maybe it was appendicitis. With it being something that serious, we were no longer taking chances. I was immediately taken to the emergency room. So the nurse there does the preliminary check to kind of get me into the system and try and figure out what they might be dealing with. And then it's just sitting in the waiting room for a while, which was uncomfortable in and of itself. Lying down, I could at least alleviate some of the pressure, but sitting up, I'm hunched over, it's putting pressure on the area, and it felt really bad. The nurse, however, said, if it gets to feeling worse, let me know, and we'll do whatever we can to try and quickly get you into the exam room so you can lie down. And suffice it to say, it got worse. So I was taken into the exam room, got to lay down, and they started running some tests. They wheeled me in for an x-ray, CAT scan, that sort of thing. And so we're waiting for the results, and they come back, and it's the words I really did not want to hear. We need to get you into surgery immediately. Your appendix is ruptured. Great fun. The weird thing, though, is that is the absolute last thing I remember. I don't remember being wheeled into surgery at all, not that I'm complaining. I certainly didn't want to be awake for it. But it was kind of this X-Files missing time kind of feeling. I do not remember being even wheeled out of the exam room. That's how weird it is. The next thing I remember was waking up in my actual recovery room, which also was a weird feeling, because I'm waking up and I suddenly have tubes going up my nose, I've got a breathing mask on, I had IV hooked up to my hand. It was a really weird feeling to suddenly wake up like that. But at that point, they told me that they went in, they got all the harmful fluid out, they got all the shards of appendix out, and apparently I had the mutant appendix that ate Cincinnati. They said it was abnormally enlarged, and that it had somehow managed to wrap itself backwards around my liver, my kidneys, places that the appendix should not be. So that was really weird to hear about. But thankfully they got it all, and so the recovery period started. They had me basically getting treatments to get the incision wound sealed up. And they had two methods of doing this. The first was kind of a vacuum pack method. For that one, they basically stuffed the wound with this kind of porous, absorbent foam rubber kind of stuff. And then they put like this adhesive strip of plastic on me, and it has a tube going through it that they use to suck out all the excess air. Oh, I hate the charge kick. But the thing with that method is it's faster, and it only has to be done every other day. The bad thing about it is it hurts so much when they have to change it out. Because it's this porous foam rubber, the tender skin from the healing wound is starting to kind of grow into it a bit. So when they have to remove the foam rubber, it's kind of ripping a bit of that skin out, and by the time they were done, I kind of felt like I was being picked clean by velociraptors or something. Of course, we can't take those machines home with us, so instead we had to switch to another method, which is just basically packing the wound full of gauze and putting pads over that and taping it all in place. That one has to be done every day, but it hurts a lot less. They mainly had to do the vacuum method at first just to go ahead and get it mostly sealed up. And it did a good job of it. The other part of the recovery was not even as fun as that, and that was the diet part of it, where at first I had a nothing by mouth order. They had me hooked up to a nutritional drip that was keeping me nourished and keeping my body hydrated enough, but the worst part of it was just the thirst. I could deal with... the drip was making it to where I didn't even feel hungry, but I felt very, very thirsty. Just my throat, my lips felt dry. Talking, asking for anything was kind of torturous. That just sucked. They eventually upgraded it to where I could at least have ice chips, let those melt in my mouth a little bit so that I at least could drink the water that came from that. So that at least was something. They eventually started upgrading the diet more, first to clear liquid so I could drink water, juice, and I could have like chicken broth, stuff like that. And then eventually it was full liquid. That let me have pudding, and the hospital pudding was surprisingly good. But, yeah, all around, it was a bit of a thing. And it wasn't even my only hospital stay. After the first hospital stay, I got home, and everything was looking good. My mom was taking over, changing the bandages and everything. But my aunt's birthday came around, and for her birthday dinner she chose to have T-bone steaks and baked potatoes. And I certainly enjoy that. So I had mine, but it was a bit much on what was still a bit of a tender system. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. That night, I started throwing up rather violently, and had it happened any other time, we wouldn't have really paid much attention to it. It would have just been, you probably ate a little too fast, or you just have a little stomach bug or something. But it happening so soon after the surgery, we kind of worried about it. And so it was off to the emergency room again. And it was kind of a day and night experience, that second hospital stay. Not really a fault of the hospital. I can't be mad at them. They were really good people. They took good care of me. But that second stay, they were severely understaffed because of a flu that was going around Texas. And a lot of the hospital staff caught it. So they were severely understaffed that second visit. So it was kind of harder to get the attention of a nurse, for example. No one was really coming in to change the linens on the bed or anything. Oh dear. That's a bit much. And you came back. But yeah, so no one was coming in to change the linens on the bed. It was hard to get a nurse's attention. And also there were a few minor clerical errors, like I got the wrong tray at mealtime. But like I said, I can't be mad at them. They're wonderful people. They really are. It was just kind of a badly timed situation more than anything else. Thankfully, that was a shorter hospital stay, that one. And they basically just said that I had a small bout of gastroenteritis, nothing major. So I got to go home again, and things have been fine ever since, really. The incision is still healing, but it's almost gone. The incision wound itself was like in 3 parts, more or less. I had a small drain hole that they were using to get rid of excessive fluids. That is pretty much non-existent at this point. There's also a smaller part of the wound that was like under my navel. That also is almost completely gone by now. The bigger part of the wound ran from just over my belly button to just under my chest. That one was big for a while, and I mean, like I said during the Silent Hill Origins LP, surgical stuff kind of squicks me out, so I really could not stand looking at that wound. It just kind of made me feel bleh anytime I saw it. But now I can stand to look at it, and it's a pretty shallow wound at this point, almost completely closed up. From what I understand, from here, I have to wait until the 10th to go in for another follow-up appointment to see how everything's doing, make sure everything's healing up right. But it really seems like it is, so I'm almost feeling back to 100% at this point. Which I'm definitely glad about that. I'm definitely glad to be getting back to work on this sort of thing. It's another thing I'll be talking about is upcoming video stuff. This is probably going to be a 2-parter just from how much I have to talk about, really. I just wanted to go ahead and cover all the medical stuff first, get that out of the way, let everyone know what's been going on there. But, yeah, I think as far as the medical side of things, that's pretty much what's been going on. Now, I know some people were thinking that I was taking a little too much time off from this, but the thing is, I was under doctor's orders to take things easy, and you have to bear in mind, doing the video stuff, there is a lot of frustration that can come of it if the programs don't play right, and I lose a lot of footage due to audio desync, or just my program's not behaving correctly, whatever. And even the opposite side of things, if something sends me into one of my laughing fits, I actually had one of those, and it was severely painful during the earlier phases of my recovery. But I'm at a point now where really it shouldn't be a major issue. So hopefully I can get back to, you know, fully working on this stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I want to get back to it. I miss this kind of stuff. Padding things out a little bit because I want to beat my record on camera. I'm at my record right now with 121. 122, we're good. Okay, new record. So, yeah, as far as all the recovery stuff, I think that's pretty much everything I had to say. So we're good on that front. So, see you in the next video, and we'll talk about some upcoming things on the channel, what I got for Christmas, all that sort of thing. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm glad to be getting back to this stuff. This feels good. And I shall see you again as soon as the next video finishes uploading. Until then, fare thee well.